Alcatraz, an impregnable prison camp, surrounded by miles of the most deadly parts of Florida. Poisonous snakes, fierce and hungry alligators, miles of unmapped swamps, storms, hurricanes, fierce heat. No one's getting out of Alligator Alcatraz. The people in Alligator Alcatraz are subhumans, the worst of the worst. Alligator Alcatraz is going to teach these criminals a lesson. If you're upset by Alligator Alcatraz, just wait. Because when the Trump era ends, we're keeping it open for the corrupt crypto scammers like Don Jr. who cashed in on the presidency. Keeping it open for folks like Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, and Tom Homan, who ignore the law, ignore court orders, and deploy masked cops in warrantless raids. We're even keeping it open for the state and federal agents who abuse their power. You built this, MAGA, and some of you will enjoy the view from inside the wire.
New tonight, video from inside the controversial facility politicians are calling Alligator Alcatraz. New documents show criminals may not be the only ones who end up at the new state-run detention facility in the Everglades.
NBC6 politics reporter Hassel Bella got a hold of state documents that show the facility may hold mothers, children, and the elderly, which contradicts what the president said earlier this week.
Waiting on our,
as more detainees arrive at what state leaders call Alligator Alcatraz, we learn more about who can end up at the facility.
Very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet.
That's what President Trump said Tuesday while visiting the now highly controversial Everglades facility. State documents show otherwise. This 37-page document, when talking about facilities, says an unaccompanied minor under 18 persons over 70, females with children, and family groups would not be placed in hold rooms. And juveniles, babies, pregnant women, and others for whom it is medically necessary should have regular access to snacks, milk, juice, etc. State Democratic lawmakers on Thursday tried to get inside the facility, but were told they could not go inside because of security concerns. They argue Florida law allows their visit and question the state's transparency.
This process has occurred with no transparency whatsoever, with Governor Ron DeSantis handing out contracts to his friends to build what is essentially a concentration camp.
Through court documents, we also learned the Department of Homeland Security has not authorized or funded the detention center, and that the state has not applied for federal funds, despite what the governor has repeatedly said, that the state will be reimbursed. Already, we've seen job listings for the detention center. This one, for example, a custodial officer pays almost $100,000. The officer would be required to live on site with meals and flights provided. Throughout the week, despite rain, heat, humidity, and the onslaught of mosquitoes, protesters have stood outside the facility, citing concerns for surrounding protected wetlands and animals in the Everglades. But could there be any political fallout?
I don't think Alligator Alcatraz by itself will cause a major political
judge is
problem.
blocked.
Certainly not for the governor.
On birthright citizenship.
Says Trump DeSantis immigration policies remain popular in the state and across the country. But the compilation of immigration policies like Alligator Alcatraz and the effects of recently passed Big Beautiful Bill could end up having an impact on the midterm elections.
Effort to restrict birthright citizenship across the country, granting class action
congressional
status.
districts
The
in other parts of the country.
That is nationally, but locally, Pinellas thinks all three Republican members of Congress are in pretty safe districts, meaning they're likely to win re-election. Reporting it.
Let's say
not released
that
the number of people
they're
being
going for a
detained at the
settlement
so-called
of
Alligator
$1,000,
Alcatraz.
and you
But
got
for the first
1,000
time
people
ever, we're hearing
filing
from several
for,
men who are
that
being
means
held
everybody's
inside
just
the
going to
facility.
get
ABC6 politics reporter Hasabella live right now with what inmates are reporting to
so if
CP
you're going
Council.
to do it, do it on your own accord. And then a little additional thing here, Trump, that he's going to impose across the board tariffs of 15 to 20% on most trade partners, while dismissing concerns that his policies could end up increasing inflation. He later threatened 35% duties on imports from Canada. Okay. All right. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, there's a crazy world in which we're living in,
and some of the food
and
had
what
warts.
have you.
Detention center lights
so
are on 24/7.
We got Dynamite with us, and he can come in, with his opening statement.
I have to wait till after that video.
Katya says he's a permanent resident who was arrested last week. First ticket to
I can't hear.
I don't want to talk over the video.
To the Everglades facility.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, do you speak English?
To the point.
Here is Izquierdo.
Okay. That's the intro video.
Charged with aggravated assault with deadly weapon and battery.
I don't know how to stop it, but if you want to stop it,
violent disputes with a tow company worker who was trying to repossess a jet ski. Now back to the call.
Can't hear it?
Nope.
Oh, we can hear it. No wonder you're talking over it.
Outside, and the tents are freezing.
Certainly hear it. Can you hear the audio on that, Joe? I mean, I can. I don't know why you can't.
Man, y'all been clashing with each other for the last 5 minutes.
Also on the call, we heard from
the video's been playing and Shabaka talking. So
you can't hear now one because it's clashing.
Spokesperson says they cannot talk about detainees who are not
you can't hear the video?
Facilities.
It's playing now.
The Everglades
when Shabaka was talking, you couldn't hear Shabaka or the video because both of them were at the same volume.
Oh, wow. Okay. Damn. All right, Shabaka, you on?
Okay. All righty. So, Joe, can you hear the video now?
No, he stopped it.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, okay, then we might as well start it. Here we go. Once again, it's these, how should we say, outside forces. You know what I mean? They take our money, man, but give us low quality. Sounds like, who knows, maybe Trump is charging them tariffs or whatever with this. Okay. Now, the courts overturned Trump's decision about the birthright citizenship. Okay. So then that means, I believe that there's when the people's having a so-called anchor babies, okay, that they could, be citizens. So quite naturally, of course, they're going to send them to school, get all kind of public benefits, you see what I'm saying, and then bringing in their own folks. All right, okay. So like some feedback on that. And then another subject is that I want to bring up is self-hatred of Africans worldwide, is because with information that I gathered that they're trying to turn some of the African nations against Traore on what he's doing over there. And more power to Mr. Traore, is because, he's having minerals over there be used for, the development, of his people over there. And then, of course, Donald Duck had some heads of state, from Africa right there, and tells the president of Liberia he's very, very impressive how he speaks English so well. And if anybody knows, is that Liberia has the capital city of Monrovia named after that president, James Monroe, when people had went back to Liberia, to get out of the antebellum of the South. And then I remember Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes. I mean, man, this must have been about 35 years ago, saying that they consider themselves descendants of Americans and not Africans. That's interesting. Okay. And then also too.
Wait a minute, who said that? Now, see there, you got something going there. Mike Wallace, you say, but he's white though.
Of course. But
So
the
you
thing
say
is
he think
about
he was
Mike
the
Wallace.
descendant of American?
Yeah, but the thing is about Mike Wallace, okay, is that Mike Wallace went out there and spoke to any and everybody, man, particularly the 1960s and the 70s. You know what I'm saying? And then, too, he spoke with Kwame
But
Ture.
he wouldn't have been the descendant of African, though.
Who, Mike Wallace?
Right.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He was saying that when he did his story in Liberia, okay, he was stating that the Liberians were telling him that they were descendants of Americans and not Africans.
No, because they ones that came to Africa on Back to Africa movement with what's his name, Marcus Garvey.
Okay, no. These guys were before Marcus Garvey, Dynamite, because I'm trying to remember when James Monroe was the president. I think he was the president, man. I think in the early 1820s or 30s. You see what I mean? And so then, quite naturally, of course, you know, they got back off
Maybe
into,
he meant the Africans in America then.
Huh?
He must have meant the Africans that were already here in America then, because that's kind of like that's kind of like proof of it right there. A little tidbit of proof right there. I mean, you know, look at
But when you look at the Amistad case, okay, that deal was 1839, I believe. Okay, where Sin Q, you know, was kidnapped. And then he led the rebellion on the ship, the Amistad. I think it was seized off the coast of down where you at, Lightning, off of South of North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. You see? And then also too, we got you know, chat room is open, you know, for the comments. All right. So Morgan Freeman, you know, he was in the movie, and what's the white boy actor name? Anthony Hopkins, okay, who was his lawyer. And I think the case was decided in 1839, but there was a scene in there where Morgan Freeman and Matthew McConaughey was talking about the ones, you know, that were descendants of the ones that they were brought here. And pretty much what the premise was is what they were saying is, well, we ain't got to worry about them niggas is because they pretty much want to be like us. So, you know, we got them under control, you see. And then there was a scene in the movie where Morgan Freeman had visited a slave ship and was looking at the horrors of it. Okay. So that's what Trump was talking about. Okay. And I see, Joe, that I'm on mute your mic because Lightning left the studio. Okay.
Yes, sir. I ain't even peeped that. I just noticed it.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get back in because this StreamYard is playing games, man. You know, okay, wait a minute. I think Lightning.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And so so it's just very, very interesting is that when we look at the so-called Black experience, it is the most dynamic experience in the history of mankind. Okay. And then I was arguing with some dude on Facebook, and I just went on and blocked him. You know what I mean? Is because it's kind of like, man, is of what I'm witnessing, y'all, in the last 5 years. This self-hatred, man, has really picked up. I mean, it went self-hatred 2.0, in my opinion. Comments, gentlemen.
Me personally, I don't see self-hatred. I see lack of discipline and lack of adult input.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's true. That's pretty. Yeah, now that's a real problem right there.
Nobody's receptive to change. You know, when a lot of people are presented with facts, because it goes against what they believe in, they deny those facts. So it's kind of like, you make your bed, you must lay in it.
Mm-hmm. And then, too, is that, as I'm always going to keep emphasizing, is that we got to build up our own infrastructures for business and industry, and we could do it. Okay, now, if we got it in our genetic memory of working from sun up to sundown, don't you think, man, that we could do half that time, man, for our own self-sufficiency? Yes, and I'm just want to, talk about that a little bit, okay? It's because with Trump, getting rid of DEI, and in my opinion, that's a good thing because, see, that opens up the door where we can go set up our own businesses and put our own people to work. And then, of course, what was they talking about? That the youth need to be getting more off into the STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then should we show our comments on stage or just keep them in the chat room?
Show them on stage.
All right.
Are you talking about our comments or outside comments?
No, the outside comments, both.
Yeah, definitely show them on stage, man. How you got if you for the people got a voice. One thing we got, if nothing else, is freedom of speech. It's on you to control your emotions.
Okay, all righty. Yeah, so be it. You know what I mean? Okay. So now another thing, too. This anti-black fervor, that's still going across the country is because Diamond Reynolds recently did a video, and of course we know who Diamond Reynolds is. She's the wife of Philando Castile, who was murdered a few years back in the car, and he was trying to show the police officer his identification and that he was licensed to carry. So Officer Yanez, put like about 5 bullets in him with a 9mm. Now, this is one of the reasons when these Latinos come out here talking about they need our help and need our support, how come y'all ain't addressing the issue about Yanez, one of your folks? You see what I mean? Okay. But that there is too much right. And it's just very, very incredible of how all these other groups come up to us talking about us, showing them sympathy for their situation. But when it comes to us, they're going to sit up there and say, we don't deserve reparations. I was arguing with an idiot, this morning on Facebook about that. So therefore, what I just did with this clown was delete and block, you know what I'm saying? And then what they try to talk about, all these lies they perpetuate. Well, your own people sold yourself into slavery. Biggest fucking lie ever told. Because after further research, the white folk came with divide and conquer. Also, too, when they got them down there to Gory Island, you know what, man, we need as many as we can to get off in the hull of this slave ship. You know what I mean? Because we're going to lose some due to starving, unsanitary conditions, you know what I mean? And whatnot. So, hey, so let's go get that ones there too that we spoke with. See, that's another thing that when you look at the Amistad case, that brings to light. Now, Sin Q was royalty, meaning that he was the son of a monarch. So why would the monarch of this particular nation in Africa sell his own son into slavery? Now, can somebody give some feedback on that, please?
Man, why would you even put that up there, man?
I'm trying to get rid of him. I'm trying to take him off of his page. That's all. Yep. It was deleting it. It goes on my page. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just asking that question right there. And over the years, I've been asking that question. Nobody ever gave me an answer to it. You say, now, I don't know if the question is too challenging to them, I don't know, man. If they're
Bear
feeling
with me.
some
I'm
type
trying to
of
get
way.
some things off of here. Well, I mean, just like you say about freedom of speech, the super chats, they can pay for a super chat and then put it right on up. But they have to pay for a super chat, you know. Otherwise, we have to take
Really?
time off of the show and get distracted on something, you know.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. And then also too, we need donations. Okay. If you got a link up there for us to get donations,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be most helpful.
but put the PayPal in there. I thought you were gonna put the PayPal in there, but they can
Okay.
hit that
Yeah.
for now. They can hit mine
Okay.
for
Let me
now for
see.
donations for Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. In the
Okay.
meantime, we do have a PayPal coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we need some donations, most definitely. Okay. So I put it up there. Okay. You see it?
Huh? No. Where's it at?
Okay. I
Oh.
just put it in the comment section.
Oh, okay. You make a banner? Make a banner.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yeah, you need to put it in a banner, not comments. Comments only we see.
Okay. You're talking about in the stream. Okay. If you could copy and paste that, if you see it.
I don't think you can in here.
Okay, it's www.paypal.com/S B.
Put it. Yeah, you gotta have to put it. Let's see.
Let me see something here.
Just go to banners and down at the bottom. Yep. But we're supposed to be going on with the show. As a matter of fact, while you're doing that, matter of fact, I'll do this. I was waiting to do it earlier, but I'll do it now. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go solo and put this on. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hold on for a minute. Let this play.
Okay.
I went to St. Louis, Missouri the other day. They had Black Panthers from all over the country. No one knew about it at all. They had machine guns, recoilless rifles, grease guns, Lugers, 25 of them, all armed. And the chief of police met me at the airport when I arrived, and they were there, right there at the steps. He said, "You were violating the law." "Yeah, we're violating the law." He said, "We're tired of our white and black leaders, Jackie and Martin and Bobby, being killed. We're going to protect this man while he's here." And they didn't arrest one of them. Because they said if you arrest one, then someone's going to die, because we are ready to kill. Black power means black dignity. Just as surely as you're proud to be white, we're proud to be black. Black is beautiful, baby. It's pretty. I always say to my brothers, I say, "Baby, don't worry about the white chicks. We got everything from chalk to charcoal in our own race." You see? Black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. Black power means dignity. It means we're going to walk side by side with you or through you. We're going to be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not going to accept any less than you have. That's myself.
Any statements on that? That's Adam Clayton Powell on Black Power.
Yeah. And they had kicked him out the U.S. Congress for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How about any statements on that?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. There we go for the donations. Okay. So they kicked him out the U.S. Congress for that. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, as you know, he was a pastor, you know, like Dr. King was.
Yeah.
He met with Malcolm. He met with
how you say it?
Yeah, the Abyssinian Baptist Church. Yeah.
Yeah, New York City.
And then, of course, in Harlem. And then, of course, as we all do know, that Abyssinia was a part of Ethiopia. You see what I mean? All right. So then, too, I was looking at some brother the other night, and he was up here with his how should I say, his red, white, and blue on, and talking about he was such an American. And my question is, if we're such Americans, why do the police kill us?
Oh, I've already taken the no police signs down, so we can get donations from everybody now. That's what I was doing. I was taking them down because it's after the 4th of July. So I'll bring them back up on the next 4th of July, maybe.
All right. Okay. So hopefully we're in business right there, and then we got the PayPal up there to donate. For our people who's watching.
The super chats, and don't worry about the super chats. That way, people can put a nice comment up and with a super chat, and we go ahead and put it up. Yeah.
All right, absolutely. Okay. All right. Now, Black Joe here says he can't hear us both at the same time. Okay, Joe. All right. I see your point on that.
One at a time.
So therefore, yeah.
No, that was when he was playing that video and you was talking 7 minutes into the show.
Yeah, don't forget we got a what do you call it, intro. Maybe I'll have to put a different intro. It's too long for you. You be ready to get it on. Yeah.
Okay. But as I was saying is, like when I look at the continent, right? Okay, I'm seeing a whole lot of still that taintonism, from those Europeans, is because the French are gonna get mad at Traore because Traore says he's shutting them down, and they're kicking him up out of there. And keep in mind that brother is only like about 36 years old. So he's got a long life of ahead of him, you know what I'm saying? And I wish him well off of what he's trying to do, but I doubt it seriously if I'll be here to see it, you know what I mean? But although we built the United States of America under our free labor and what have you, okay, what they did, stole all our intellectual property too, that's when you got that U.S. Patent Office of what that is all about. Then a lot of the intellectual property, that they stole from those sisters. What was that there with Taraji P. Henson, where they was working for, Hidden Figures was the name of the movie. Okay, where they put in all their science and technology into it. And then she has to go up there to go to court to check out certain books in the library. You know what I mean? And so then what's the dude's name? Kevin Costner, he was in it as well too. But the thing is, but why we hate it when we are trying to be self-sufficient? Comments, gentlemen. Okay, we got some audio.
You hear me? That Elon Musk chat bot called Grog, and it's spitting out his ideology of this neo-Nazism, because Grog is doing like white supremacist ideology. It's a chat bot, AI.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they would put that out there, though, and it's on X, Elon Musk's platform, and the fact that he did that Heil Hitler salute, at the inauguration, and now Grog, his AI creation, is doing anti-Semitic and stuff that I guess you would hear from a KKK or somebody, a neo-Nazi.
A borer. That's who you heard from, a borer.
Yeah, a borer. No.
Yeah.
Say he's a bore. You say And I don't recognize him as no African because, like I said, he can come out here, man, and sit out here with me in 108 degrees right now. And it would be very, very interesting, to see how his skin will get to peeling, you know what I'm saying? And what have you, you see? And then, of course, the hypocrisy of it would be he would have the audacity to say, well, we're all the same and all that. And so, and I had delete and blocked, hate mail that I was getting in on the new like page, Lightning. You know what I'm saying? And
know about any
so
of that.
delete and block, that's what you do. And what have you. I don't even entertain them no more with that. Because I know me, and those who are familiar with me over this internet, okay, know that all it's going to do is lead to an argument. You see, so they do that to bait you so they can get you shut down. You
now,
see,
who is more popular, Ed McMahon?
Smarter, not harder. You know what I'm saying? And
well,
then,
like Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson.
Of course, if somebody wants to have an intelligent conversation, and I know the word is intelligent, okay, I don't have a problem with it. They say, but two things you're not going to tell me. The first lie is black people sold themselves into slavery. Biggest lie ever told. Then if you meet the person who makes this here halfway and tell them that the Europeans used lies, deceit, trickery, war, and what have you, and the source of that information is the one and only Mr. Lerone Bennett. Now, I prefer to get my research from material that was written in the 1960s and 70s, and I'll tell you why. Because it recorded the history as it unfolded, and everybody remembered Jet magazine, where they used to come out once a week, and then, they'll have a list of all the great songs.
Don't forget the Jet Centerfold. Everybody remember that.
Oh, no, well, that was the main reason I was looking at them. You know what I'm saying?
They say the Centerfold, they might not remember exactly. They might think you're talking about Ebony. Now, we talking about Jet, the little bitty magazine. Yep.
Right, which was the part that was published by Johnson Publications.
Yep, and look at all the money they must have saved on that little bitty magazine.
Oh, yeah, because I think at that time, man, the magazine started at a quarter. Then I think it went up to like about $2.
The manufacturing of it is 1/4 the size of 1/4 the size of a regular magazine, and not as many pages. So it's like, wow, they had to save a lot on that,
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Was not a Playboy. Yeah.
Yeah, you say, well, we're not going to talk about Hugh Hefner. You say, we're not going to talk about him.
A decent centerfold. I'm saying a decent centerfold, not no. It's something you can see in the stores,
Yeah, exactly. You see what I mean? And then on top of it as well, too, what has started happening is lately you got, what do I call this here? They're trying to prop up, black men being out here feminized, and then they propping up black women, with these white guys. You see what I mean? And then when you are talking about the black family structure and mention this of how this is killing it, then you'll get a bunch of hate mail in your inbox and stuff like that, which is fine. You see, I just went on there and deleted and blocked them. You know what I mean? And then, too, look what it does to the family unit. Then, of course, you got to look at the entertainment industry of what we talked about, of how they will put all this stuff out here to degrade the black family unit, degrade, the black woman. You see what I mean? And, where does this nonsense end? You know what I'm saying? When does it end? And then on top of it, what's wrong with black people loving themselves? You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, everybody else, you know, who's doing this and man, okay, and then everybody else that is doing this, and it's kind of like you got all these other groups so freely using this NGR term. You know what I'm saying?
You cutting out.
Then go ahead, huh?
You were cutting out. You cut out.
Okay, you said I'm cutting out.
You were cutting out before you said know what I'm saying, then you came back. We don't know what you said in between.
Oh no, I was just talking about is that when you go on social media and talk about the Black Family Unit, right? Okay, then you get these outside forces, if you know what I mean, you know, that talk against it. And then when they say, well, we're all the same, and then I tell them, hey, could you sit out here in 100-degree temperature in this desert and or that, hey, Lightning, take the show over, man. Okay, I got to mute out for a minute.
What was that in the comments, Brother Joe, about straight men marrying gay women or something? Gay women marrying straight men? What was that?
Man, as long as straight women are marrying gay men, I ain't really got no comment on it. They're sabotaging the community. So you know my stand.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold that thought there, Joe. Hey, Dynamite. Okay. Desiree is asking if you would send the link to her Gmail account if you have it.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Always put your phone on do not disturb. Phone on do not disturb when we're doing shows. We're working. Nobody's got time for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Mine is on do not disturb. Can't nobody call me. Yeah.
Okay. But you can send a text.
Yeah, I can send her the thing. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Do you got her Gmail address?
Well, look, don't worry about that. Continue on with the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Right on.
Well, let me tell something. You can't hear these videos because if you see the video on the screen, you know it's playing, even if you can't hear it. So let's test it with this one real quick. See if you can hear this.
The owner's big $1 million making in the white man's world of prestige, who speaks to his people 100% and don't give a damn about the money, being shot, take the title, take it all, and to go to jail tomorrow. I love my people, and I'm not going to sell them out, make them movies, and mislead them and marry blondes because I'm one Negro who's the boss. Let me come in the council, and the rest of them in the fields catching hell. I'm going to the fields and represent them if it means die. So that's why I'll fight.
Could you hear it that time?
Yes, sir. I heard it loud and clear. Yeah, I heard it loud and clear. And that there was a very, very powerful message that he had stated back then. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why he was hated. But at the same token, that's how he also made his money. Because you got to keep in mind, man, when it came to Ali, the majority of white America did not pay to see him win. They paid to see him lose. Quite naturally, of course, you know, we paid to see him win. You know what I'm saying? And what have you. And they tried to break that man, you know what I'm saying, you know, spiritually, financially, morally. But hey, he still came through. You see what I mean? He still came through. And then, two, is that, hold on a second. And then the positive image that he set for the black community. Because, you know, a lot of them were saying, well, Champ, how can I be a great boxer and stuff like that? He says, forget about boxing. Go to school, become a doctor. Go to school, become a lawyer. Go to school, become an engineer, an architect, scientist. You see what I'm saying? Because he said it only just takes one blow to end your career. You know what I mean? And which he was right about, man, because it ain't nothing nice. You know, Joe? It ain't nothing nice, you see. So I will always respect that brother for that. And then, two, is that he was against us hating ourselves. You see, that's what they used to talk about Floyd Patterson about. Because Floyd Patterson had said back in 1965 that he's going to take the title from this man for the American people. For the American people. Floyd Patterson really did hate the Nation of Islam. He made public statements about it. You see. And so what is that? Is that still a chain on our brain? You know what I mean? To this day, is it self-hatred? You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. Let's say comments, gentlemen, please.
Yeah, you keep walking away from the phone. I'm trying to send her that link. So and when you walk away from the phone, it sounds distant, just so you know. So repeat
Okay,
it close
gotcha.
to the phone. Stay close to the phone.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Actually, I'm staying close to the computer. Yeah, say, because I'm on this.
Well, you walked away, way away somewhere and asked us a question. I don't know. Did you hear him, Joe? Because I couldn't make it out. He might have heard you. Just repeat it if not. It might be
okay.
No, he went in and out. I kind of caught in and out little pieces of it.
Yeah, you can't walk away at a distance like that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Okay. All right. So I'm staying right here on top of it because I'm looking at the meter right here. Okay. So what I was just saying is that in his heyday, the example that he had set, you see what I mean? And I don't care what the man did off in his private life, okay? It's because that's between him and God. But in his public image, he had kept up a clean image. You say, okay, all right, I see we got Sister Arquette with us, you know, adding her to the stage. Okay, Sister Arquette, you're in there with us. But he kept a very, very clean image, and it's very, very important, you know, that our youth today take some time to check him out, okay? Because, you know, the only thing they want to show up here, man, on this social media is all this stuff, man, about us being criminals and disrespecting our women and stuff like that, man. And then, of course, they're trying to shatter the family unit. Okay, now Joe got a comment in here. I'm going to read Joe. Okay, straight woman marrying gay men is a real phenomenon. That it is, man. That it is. Though not always a widely discussed one, these marriages sometimes referred to as mixed orientation marriage. Oh, man, now I've seen and heard it all, brother. Thank you for that one. Or even lavender marriages in some historical contexts can occur for various reasons, including genuine affection and companionship, or as a way to conceal a man's sexual orientation. Now,
I put that in the chat when you were talking about how could we help fix the community, and I said you kind of got to let it reset itself, man, because at this point I'm seeing this in our community happen a lot, where a lot of the younger women coming up don't want to take direction or let the man lead, and they will literally choose an effeminate man who they know may go do effeminate man things. That's as respectful as I can say it.
Right. Okay.
Because they're in control, because they wear the pants, because they're the head of the household.
Right. And then just like how you see so many of these brothers doing these live videos talking about he's a player and all this old type of stuff. Then the next thing you see, his ass is sitting out there in front of the house in the snow with his little suitcase, you know what I'm saying, and his flip-flops on, you know? So we got to address that.
But you got to understand. You got to understand. Yeah. See, the same men and women that raised that man is the same men and women that raised these out of control young women as well. That's why at this point that we're at right now, I keep on saying, unless we have a civil dispute within our community, we're going to be bred out. The men are going to go elsewhere.
Yeah, you're right on that there, man. And that there is really sad. But however, it was engineered, man, for a long time with that Willie Lynch doctrine that they had way back. What's that there? 1712. And this is why that they would sodomize the black male in front of his daughter, his wife. But the one they had front and center to observe all this was his son. They say was his son. So therefore that he'll be right. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
In my opinion, it's the rebellion of positive leadership in our community. You got to understand, between the feminists, between the alphabet community, and all of that, the white woman will still go and impregnate herself by the white man. The white woman won't have an abortion, and she could be a whole bulldagger. Okay? But the My Body, My Choice movement killed over over 1 million black children, bro. So when I say it's not just on the women, it's on the men too. But the government being it's hard. I hate to say this. Our government being a lapdog for our women and the enforcement arm of our women against us as well. You understand? To fight that battle outside and to come home and fight that battle, bro. These men that are going to these different women, they love black women. You got to understand. Over the last 20 years, what I watched is these men on their rise are talked about, called lame, denied, called nerds. And when they're ashamed and put down and kissed in the mouth from her going and doing sexual activities and ridiculed and made fun of, they go elsewhere. And when they go elsewhere, they accumulate their riches and they grow into their masculine. And now that they're making 6 figures a year and they reject that woman that rejected them in their youth, we have this issue here. See, that's the thing about accountability, bro. We haven't had real accountability in our neighborhoods, in our community, in our culture since 68?
Yeah. Now turning back the hands of time in my mind, brother, is that let's see, 66 to about 72. Okay. And then what happened was, man, when they came out there with that disco era, man, which is 74, 75, that's when it all went downhill. Yes, sir. That's when it went all downhill. And then also, too, a shout out there to Sister Cat, who for joining us. And hold on a second. For joining us. I know she has a lot to say. She's a scholar, so I give her respect on that. Although, Sister Cat, when we disagree, sister, I be trying to disagree with you agreeably, All right. Now, another thing, too, when they had rites of passage.
What was you saying, Shabaka? When you were saying as far as what about a disagreement?
Yeah, disagreeing agreeably.
Yeah, that's what we should do. Yeah, we're supposed to disagree, agree and disagree, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Some kind of way, hit it. But, you can't never go wrong with truth. And at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. Now, a lot of the things you talk about as far as what the black woman has done when it comes to having her pro-choice or anything else. Look what happened in the case with the sister that was I think it was in Georgia, actually, or was it Alabama? She was in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
On life support, right?
Yeah.
Them jokers took it upon themselves and take her baby out of her. Where was her family at? You know what I'm saying? The cord was already cut. The woman was dead, and they turned around and took her child, right? I think that our focus is on the wrong thing. And the wrong thing is that you don't ever give the black woman the advantage over anything. You turn around and talk about the disadvantage, and maybe we start talking about the advantages and the other things that actually happen, right? That maybe we can get somewhere as a people, because you cannot blame all the chaos that goes on in this world, in the planet, on the black woman. And if you you are questionable. And you know what I'm talking about when I say questionable.
I agree with Joe.
Ma'am, let's not throw insults, ma'am. I'm trying to have a insult,
but it's okay.
You just stop, ma'am. Listen, can I talk?
Oh my God.
Okay, let the man talk. Come on, Sister Cat. Let the man talk. Let the man talk.
I mean, the statistics right now prove it. Black women have over 1 million more children than black men of the equivalent age. Explain that.
About the percentage rate of black, I would like to actually see that research, because
hold on, I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'm about to put it in the chat. I am about to put it in the chat. Hold on.
Okay, put it in the chat, bro. Let's see the proof.
Yeah, he's gonna put it in the chat. Okay. Now, also too, you say we disagree agreeably, but however, we also have to look at the outside forces. Okay. That try to egg this on, is because, like I said, on my social media, I don't befriend white folk. You say, I tried to, it didn't work. You say, and then it's like, how you gonna tell me about my people's story? And then when we tell you about your people's story, you say, of your brutalization, you say you want to ignite. Oh, but that happened so long ago. You're not addressing the issue. Say, now look at old Frog Face. Now, we all remember Frog Face. Old George Wallace, governor of Alabama. Segregation yesterday, segregation today, and segregation tomorrow. He spoke how he honestly felt, okay? Now, for those of you who listen to the playback on this, I am going to acknowledge the fact that there was a young white woman from Detroit.
Okay, so that is not actually an article. That just, has exactly what you just said. Can you actually show me an article or some type of format or any kind of proof that you actually have? Because, of course, the government has all this information. So you got
he just posted the link.
All right, let me check it
out. Okay, yeah, he just posted the link right there. Okay, now another.
Wait a minute, Shabaka. Hold on, listen, before I land. Plus, let's not forget that 30% of all men that paternity test children that are said to be theirs are found to be not the father, and those are only the men that request the paternity test. So,
say that's interesting as well too. You see what I mean? And then we got to look at the men who got with a woman that had small children and went and raised them themselves as that they. Go ahead.
This is a big thing I've been noticing, though. Those energies are attracting each other. The Pookie and Ray Ray is attracting the Keisha and Boonquisha. The educated man is typically finding the educated woman, as long as she's not adopting this modern feminism. Like I say, once again, the men that were coming up and building themselves, the women denied for the guys that had the money at the time. Once they built themselves, they reject those women for the mixed race woman or the foreign woman who actually went to the track with him and ran track with him, who actually went in the gym with him and helped him lift weights, versus where we going, what you doing, what you doing for me. See, it's a difference in mindset. So before black men are shamed for just moving on, let's just not do that. It's a whole thing here. It's so many successful black couples that are not spoken of because that don't fit the narrative. Man, I've been with my old lady for a decade, man. I just turned 42. Come on, bro. Like the narrative of black couples and black love, that being pushed, that breeds unity. That's going to be the first step in unity. Other than that, you gotta watch it burn.
You're right. Okay, I had to sit at a lunch counter, y'all, and beg myself.
Can I ask Black Joe a question? So I actually put up this site, but one of the things that's interesting, and maybe I'm missing it, it doesn't give you any contact information or actually the founder of Black Demographics.
It's supposed to be referred to the CDC
if I'm missing
statistics.
something, please let me know, because I was looking at that. So it went down.
All of that's supposed to be data, goddamn, on me compiled from the widespread list of CDC statistics, and those are just the statistics that are documented.
Okay, you're talking about the Center of Disease Control.
Disease Control,
ATL,
yeah.
Joe.
That's where they get their information from.
Okay. Now, also too, is that our dear sister, the one and only Miss Fannie Lou Hammer, that I found this out. You're gonna find this here interesting too, Dynamite. Okay, that she had to go to the doctor one time. They gave her surgery, and they took out all her procreation organs. You say, I don't want to use the term reproductive, because reproductive is a manufacturing term. So when it comes to the life form, see, that's procreation. You say, and I just found that out there today, Lightning. I meant to tell you that, man. You know what I mean? And God bless the spirit of Miss Fannie Lou Hammer. You know what I'm saying? God bless the spirit of Harriet Tubman. God bless the spirit of Tupac's auntie, and I'm not going to say her name, but we all know who we talking about, you know. And Tupac's auntie, she will be coming up on her 78th solar return. You say, and she was heavy. And then Barack Obama, who leaves a whole lot to be desired during his presidency.
You can't forget Henrietta Lacks and Ida B. Wells in their list.
Yes, sir, I stand corrected. Henrietta Lacks, my God, of how they took her ovaries and they start cloning them, and then
they still slip curing white. Yeah, I almost said that. Yeah. I had to catch myself.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you know. So on the term then, when we're speaking about other groups, I just say OTB. You see what I mean? And I'll just say OTB.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. And then another thing too, now Sister Arquette, she has a platform that she's invited me on that I appreciate. So what we have to do, just like during slavery, when the sisters was braiding their hair with the cornrows, those were showing the maps to escape. And Sister Harriet Tubman, when she was doing Underground Railroad, she said, once you get on this train, there ain't no getting off. And then, of course, as we do know, that we had a lot of Black folk that went all the way to Canada just to escape the United States altogether, and they ain't got to worry about the paddy roller or the slave patroller or the modern day policy enforcer, commonly referred to as the police. You see what I mean? And so, of course, you know, the spirit of Harriet Tubman, you know what I'm saying? Of course, the spirit of Queen Nzinga of Angola. And by the way, y'all, you know, I pulled up, somebody told me to go research what I've been saying about slave ships going to Africa. Yeah, I pulled them up. And on the like page of Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced, the new one, on Facebook, you can go there and you could see it. And the main places they had were where they delivered the slaves was Galveston, Texas, Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Yes, say.
Gulf of Mexico.
I'm sorry.
Gulf of Mexico. No, I keep on preaching that yes, slaves was bought here, but this was also an invasion. Look, nobody came from the West. Nobody came from the Hawaiian roots, which would have been in direct with Japan and Asia. No, the Europeans came from the east and from down south where the Spaniards at. That was an invasion along with slavery. They used slave labor against the people that was already here as well, and they bred, man. 100%. It was a lot of slaves brought here, but it was a lot of melanated people here first. Like I say, I got a brother in Kansas that looks like an Olmec head that's from New Jersey that met a guy in Kansas that looked just like him. How's that? How? What are the odds? These men could be brothers. So that's my only point. I'm not saying slaves wasn't.
Yeah,
It's like when we
Joe, go ahead.
It's the equivalent during the GWAT, the Global War on Terror. Yeah, it wasn't truly slaves, but when America went over there with all of its weaponry, and those men who would have pulled AKs on our soldiers became translators and informants and all that. You think they wanted to do that? No, it's a way to be forced to do things without being forced to do things. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's called extortion. Okay.
Boy, yes.
It's called extortion. We might have your wife, we might have your mama, and if you don't do this, then horrible things are going to happen to her. You see what I'm saying? And I think the X-Man even talked about that in some of his writings as well, too. And Sister Arquette, very knowledgeable sister. She is a scholar, you know. And sister, if you're still selling those books, you know, put your link up there in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Try to indirectly throw some business your way for your contribution. And when I got a lot of work to do up on this little rascal right here, because they trying their best to get the SBEE shut down. And then also too, we asking for donations. We got the PayPal link in there. Is the PayPal link still in there, Dynamite?
Yeah, it's on the page. It's on the screen.
Okay.
It's at the bottom in the ticker tape.
Okay, it's all good. It's because, you know, a lot of us been digging in our pockets to keep these platforms going on. And I'm going to be straight up honest. I'm broke. Do you know what I mean? I'm broke. I want to see this thing keep going on after I die. So, you know, when I meet with the Almighty and everybody going to say, well, that GD, Shabaka, Sankoi, womp. Now, let me explain my name. Okay. I took the name Sankore from the University of Sankore. And of course, we all heard that term. I'll beat your ass from here to Timbuktu. Yes. The University of Sankore is in Timbuktu, and Timbuktu was a thriving place of commerce. You see what I mean? Okay. So when these OTBs come up there and tell you that they all this and they so mighty and all that, just invite them to Las Vegas, say, for the next couple of months to about the first part of September. And hey, and come out here and let's sit in the sun together. And then when you get to turning red, oh, sunburn, you know, we ain't going to leave you there. We'll call the paramedics for you. But I suggest you make it an anonymous call because they might lie and say that you try to do something to them, you know. And then another thing to look at is that you know where I'm going with this here, Arquette and Lightning. Okay, hey, Black Joe says confirmation bias, people's tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that is consistent with their existence beliefs. This is biased approach to decision making is largely unintentional, and it results in a person ignoring information that is inconsistent with their beliefs. Okay, Brother Joe, if you'll unmute your mic, sir, and please explain that.
My reason for posting that is the problem that I've been noticing the last year and a half within the community is when our people are presented with truth that contradicts their beliefs, they deny their truth. That's keeping us running in place on this treadmill at high speed, dehydrated and out of breath. That's all.
Okay. Now, another question.
I was saying earlier.
Okay, like ethnic what?
Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson. Everybody can't be Ed McMahon. We got a lot of different viewpoints. Now, I was thinking if you take the average weight of a person and say now, because I know they lie about a lot of stuff. So say, okay, now I know it had to be babies, but if you take the average weight of a person and say how many people did they lie and say many ships, right? Take that weight and say now, can that ship even hold that much weight?
Yeah,
I was
because of displacement, man, water displacement. That's way different than being on land.
Well, I mean, babies, it would be different. I mean, I can see that working, but I'm saying as far as adults all crammed up on top of each other, I don't think
babies wouldn't survive it because of disease. Adults got a better chance of surviving that voyage due to with disease. Adults will have the highest chance of surviving versus babies that got to be maintained and cared for. Babies could not have been left in field where you'd have had a boat full of dead babies.
I mean, would think that the adults crammed on top of each other, they would be more likely to die.
So if I leave a 1-year-old in a house for 20 days without food, hold on. If I leave a 1-year-old, what you think the slave master was attending children? If that's the case,
they would have somebody down there to be qualified to do it, like a nurse.
A boat full of children from Africa across the seas with no technology and cholera and all that. They don't. No.
I just don't see them being able to get that far with adults. I mean, I just
man.
say.
If I sat one of your brethren next to you, put out a double barrel 12 gauge, put it in his face and squares the trigger, I'm quite sure you're going to do what I tell you to do.
Well, I'm just saying they got a lot of false information out there. Like when they say they brought in 12 million when they only brought in 5,000.
I forgot who I was talking to. You go. You're right. I agree with you. It may have been babies. I land my plane.
Just a theory that even if wasn't that, even if not babies, because that make a lot of sense what you're saying there. But what if it were less people than they say? That's all I mean. Like if they say
I've been saying that from the beginning. I've been saying that yes, they had slave labor, but they had gunpowder and cannons and technology. People was here as POW and they brought slaves with them, and taking POWs, they allowed them to bring more slaves in until it was slave revolts and alliances.
Okay,
and interbreeding and mating between them and the melanated people. Ain't no babies made that voyage on no boat. You can't even leave a baby in a car for too long in nice weather with the window cracked. So yeah, that never happened.
Okay, now also too, keep in mind that there were documented incidences, that once they would bring the slaves about the hull of the ship, a lot of them, particularly the women, would just jump overboard into the sharks, you know what I'm saying? And just like off the coast of North Carolina, where you had a lot of slaves who arrived there, and what they did was they realized their position. I'm breaking up.
Oh, well, no, I can hear you now. You broke up for a second.
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Okay, and a lot of them, and I believe off the coast of North Carolina, they would just back themselves up into the water, because keep in mind, man, they didn't have airplanes or speedboats back at that time. Well, hey, man, we survived this hell that we went through. Now we're on here and we see the brutalization of the savage. They'll say, so, hey, wade in the water. And I believe that's where the song came from by Ramsey Lewis, of the slaves who was backing themselves up into the water, because I much rather be dead than be somebody's property. And that,
as long as I take you with me.
Yeah. Now let's look at our man Nat Turner. Okay, as Dr. Newton wrote off in his book called Revolutionary Suicide. Nat Turner was only 31 years old when they killed him. But from what I understand, and Sister Arquette, I'm going to ask her to elaborate on this if she's got knowledge on it, because she's more scholarly than I am. And Nat Turner said that this God told him to go out there and do what he did. You see what I mean? And then from what I understand, somebody was saying is these, what do you call it, the ones that do, the astronomers are saying that there was an eclipse that had happened when Nat got the word and he saw it as a sign. You see what I mean? And then, two, what has happened is, as so many of our people, like my family, had migrated up there to the north, to Chicago, let's see, Boston, and I think a few of my family members went to Detroit, but we researching that right now because I got a loved one who's researching the family tree, okay? But a lot of our people, as we all know, had went and escaped to Canada. You see what I mean? Just to get about the United States altogether, you know what I'm saying? Because let's say Dynamite, Joe, Sister Arquette, we're down there in Alabama, you know, and they beating our asses, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, Shabaka, he come up, he said, hey, y'all, guess what, y'all? I heard they got gold in this place called California. So let's go bum rush California, you know, to go get some of that gold, okay? So you had those that made it there to California, and that was mining the gold, and it was our man, our former East Coast correspondent, Brother Isaiah, that brought that there to my attention, where his sister was a slave, brought to California to go get that gold by a slave master from the great state of Texas, down there good in the bud, okay? And she's down there, man, mining that gold. And I've been up there through Placerville, and I think I told you all about my experience up there when the sheriff ran me out of town. And then when they was crossing through the deserts of L.A. County, getting ready to line up to go back to Texas, the L.A. County sheriff saw this woman being mistreated and being a slave. And a white fella said, well, she's my slave and I do whatever I want. So the sheriff of LA County says, well, look, ma'am, you are free in this state, okay? And this fool cannot force you to take you back to Texas against your will. So quite naturally, of course, the sister said, well, that's great news to me. And she went down there in downtown Los Angeles, y'all, and started her own business over there off of 3rd and Spring Street. You know what I mean? And that is right around the corner for where you see in all those ICE raids at down there by the federal buildings, right around the corner from there. And then, of course, as we stated before, that land where Hollywood is, Beverly Hills is, let me think, boy, Pacific Palisades and all that there was owned by a black woman. And I got into an argument with somebody that was talking about that California is named after a black queen by the name of Khalifa, okay? All right, so, you know, that holds a lot of juice, you know what I'm saying? And then those movie-making companies went out there and stole that land from this sister. And I'm talking about, I'm talking about you, Paramount. I'm talking about you, Warner Brothers. I'm talking about you, Universal Pictures and what have you. And you say, but they don't never, ever want us to give us credit for anything. You say, they don't want to give us credit for nothing. Even back there in ancient Kemet, okay, we were performing brain surgery. We were performing medicine. You see what I mean? But then here come these funny boys out of Greece, you know, all twisted, if you know what I mean, start claiming the knowledge like Aristotle, Socrates, Plato. Man, them dudes ain't invented nothing, man. They went and stole knowledge. Professor George G.M. James told you that. It's called the stolen legacy. You see what I mean? So, also, too, to quote the words of Mad Dr. D, may he rest in power, when we was on Blog Talk, he says, man, we got to do a show on what we do to each other. You see, so I said, okay, Mad Dr. D, you know, run it. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me a minute, y'all. Somebody please take over the conversation. I got to mute myself for a minute. All right, I'm back. Is everybody still with me, or are they throwing a monkey wrench in our works again?
I'm still here.
Okay. All right, Sister Arquette, feel free, sister, to unmute your mic and comment, because we kind of like ad-libbing it, you know what I mean? Because they be pulling all kind of junk on us,
Yeah.
Okay. So now.
But I just dropped off and came back in,
Okay. Oh, that's them algorithms, man, that they messing with us, man. You know what I'm saying?
The back button, damn back button.
Yeah, you say, okay, now, and then one thing I cannot stand, now this is me, speaking on my African ancestry. One thing I cannot stand is cold. Because, man, I went there to a state in the mountain states one March, man, and that snow came down, and this arthritis started messing with me and all this old type of stuff. And I said, hey, man, to hell with this. I got to get back out there to that sun. You know what I'm saying? Because we are children of the sun. Yes, say, and I believe okay, and I believe I see that we're sharing it. So therefore, we got to be politically correct and whatnot. And the chat room is open up for our hate mail. I need some hate mail, and the reason why I need the hate mail.
If they're gonna pay to get in, yeah. I don't need nobody for that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
If they don't mind me being their headache, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then too,
I can show up on their front porch and give them all kind of my opinion, on a regular basis.
And then also too, if everybody's interested, depending on how their pockets book is, and I know times is hard, and I also know people have a lot, of things to do in their personal life. Let's build this up here into a network. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if we can get us 1 million followers on this thing as well too. Okay. Now, Sister Arquette is stating in here, great job. I'm coming back. The alarm went off in my building. Okay, well, I hope everything's okay for you out there, sister. Now, okay, and I think brother had put in, okay, this is you, Joe. Okay, there has been a documented rise in anti-Mexican and anti-Latino sentiment in recent years, leading to a concerning increase in reported racist attacks and hate crimes. The FBI reported 6,399 anti-Hispanic or Latino hate crimes between 2012 and 2022. In 2022 alone, anti-Latino hate crimes rose to 738, a 21% increase in 2 years. Okay. All righty. So what it is here, Black family, we ain't got time to be worried about nobody else. We got to worry about ourselves. That's saying I'm trying to be politically correct. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
That was the wrong article. I was looking for the racist attack that they have performed against us, but putting that up and putting that up, no one has racially attacked them except for the ones they're trying to ally with. And after they're racially attacked by the ones they're trying to ally with, because we won't side with them, they want to racially attack us. That's a problem.
Well, see, okay, now hold on, Joe. Now you're on to something right there, man, because see, they were attacking us, man, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, man, out in the city of Compton, California, where they were going up into Black people's houses and literally running them out of their own houses. You see what I mean? Literally running them out of their own houses. And then I remember around that time, man, I had to visit LA, and I got me and a homie got a motel room out there, and I forgot it. I think it was a place called Santa Fe Springs. which is in that same general area, right? So we, getting our stuff out. SA come up to us, hey man, you guys are black, right? I said, yeah, what about it? Oh, okay. So I told the homie who I was with, I said, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, man, okay, but we might have to defend ourselves, you say. And it's just very, very incredible that these Latinos are not addressing this issue. And then they're stating out here recently that I saw off of social media that we don't deserve reparations, okay? Grave insult to us, okay? Now, Joe has got a comment here that I'm going to read. Okay. Incidents of racial tensions and violence between Black and Latino communities have been reported in the U.S. For an instance. 2006, Latino gang members were reportedly targeting African Americans in L.A., leading to a retaliatory actions by Black gangs. Okay, Southern Poverty Law Center reported highlighted how this tension fueled a rise in hate crimes. In a separate incident in 007, the SPLC reported that Black offenders allegedly carried out a series of robberies and beatings targeting Latino immigrant workers in Pasadena, California. While these incidents was considered racially motivated by investigators, they were not included in a hate crime tally due to the lack of overt acts proving race as a primary motive. Okay, Joe, can you go up there, brother, and elaborate on that, sir?
In other words, all of the white Latino, let me rephrase that. All of the Latinx immigrants that are on the California police force, and there are videos out right now of them harassing and accosting Black people at work, in particular security. Okay,
Right.
it's a long history of white and light Latinos separating themselves, along with the dark Negritos. They, for some reason, they look down on us. You got to understand the vote for Trump. The reason why it's coming out of their community, the reason why they overwhelmingly voted for Trump is not because of the illegal immigrants they thought were going to get deported. Where it is, they thought that we were going to get deported, and they were going to replace us as the underclass.
Okay.
So it's a long.
Now,
Okay. So it's a long.
Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's just a long history of their racism towards us, man, and it started in those jails. Listen, Latino relations and Black relations on the West Coast are totally different than Latino relations in Texas.
Right.
Totally different, night and day. So knowing that, mainly the ones in Texas are the ones that's talking about the racism in the Latino community that's been persisting on Blacks, and it all started with their jail politics. And when they get out of jail, they bring it to the streets. So in this instance, where when George Floyd died and big guy in New York, what was his name? The Earth dude got choked out by the cop. I see all I see is when these things happen, forget the white folk. It's expected, okay? It's expected.
Right.
But when I see Asians and Africans and Mexicans and Caribbeans and they dark and they like, he shouldn't have been resistant. Okay. Usually the line in the sand right there. So now in this point where we're dealing with this immigration thing, you shouldn't be breaking the law. The alligator thing, I'm sure they ran across alligators, mountain lions, and bears sneaking in here. So stop breaking the law, and they would have to deal with this. And I land.
Okay. All righty. Okay. All right. Now, this here, once again, is the more reason for us to build up our own industries and because see, Trump, he was flying on a jailbird one time, and he had gave a press conference, right? Okay, and he was talking about he's against DEI and all that, reverse discrimination and all this old type of stuff. Now, And the American ethos, which is the group psychology, when you use the term reverse discrimination, then you are acknowledging that this country does have a history of discrimination. Now, another thing that we got to get rid of, excuse the expression, is the house nigger syndrome. There was a scholar who was a regent now on the University of California, okay, named Ward Connolly, who wanted to get rid of affirmative action. Now, I would like Mr. Connolly to go explain that there to Dr. King's family, explain it to Malcolm X's family, explain it to all the people who are Black that died in the civil rights movement that made the ultimate sacrifice, right? Okay, you follow me so far? Now, let's look at John Lewis. Okay. When he was a congressman in the U.S. Congress, okay, he was talking about good trouble. And there was a video or a film clip of him, crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And the police went up there and knocked him upside his head and knocked him cold. And he's talking about that this is good trouble. Okay, first place, it's your human right, your manly right, your biological right to defend yourself, because the Almighty gave all living creatures a means of self-defense, okay? Even a serpent, okay? The serpent got them fangs and poison in there for you, okay? Then he gave man his fist. He gave the horse, and I think the horse defends himself when he does those reverse kicks, you know what I'm saying? And what have you. But when it comes up to us, we're just supposed to stand there and get killed. And I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. You see, then white America is talking about, well, you got prejudiced Black people. Prejudice how? We don't control no banks. We don't control no policy enforcement departments. And the police are policy enforcers, not law enforcement enforcers. They enforce policy. And then, of course, as we all do know, of how that the police departments evolved. You see what I mean? Because they were slave catchers. You see what I'm saying? Even when you look at their badges, they designed just like some of these county sheriff badges with that star on there with those points on it. You see? And whatnot, And then, Joe, if you and I, man, we was on that plantation together and we said, hey, man, we heard about gold in California and let's escape. Let's run away. All right, so we make it to California. Slave patrollers come there and get us. And as I stated before, they made us walk back to the plantation. And then on top of it, okay, only Lord knows what happened to us when we got back for escaping, because slaves were wealth. You see what I mean? And then, of course, a young Black man, 25 years old, you know what I mean? He's worth about, say, $1,500. But a Black woman in his age group is worth about 3 times that amount. Why? Because the slave trader is going to violate her. You see, as you saw in the motion picture Mandingo, you see what I mean? And starts having more slaves on that, you see? So, I mean, give me some feedback, talk Black to me, you know what I'm saying? And whatnot, you see? So, opinions and whatnot.
I got a saying for my YNs and my brethren in my tribe, and it go like this. I say, if stuff hit the fan and we have to be side by side in battle, if I fall fighting by your side, don't cry, don't mourn, pick up my weapon and continue to fight. I land.
Absolutely.
Right
absolutely.
On.
Yeah, absolutely on that right there. You know what I'm saying? You got a point right there. You say, but the way they conditioned us off this plantation system, Say that is why they kept the black male mentally weak, you see. And then I still ask the question, okay, and I'd like some feedback on this. If we was already here, then how did we get invaded if we were already here? Can somebody, elaborate on that there, please?
Yeah, if you're running around with knives and bow and arrows, once again, and I put your brother, your blood brother next to you, and with a blunderbuss, I blow his head clean off his shoulders. It is a psychological effect that is instantly spread throughout your entire tribe.
Okay.
The same way Africans say when the Dutch brought dynamite to Africa, they used to call the Dutch boom boom and basically worship him because he had technology. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Like right now, if I came up with a laser gun that fired infinite rounds that could take something out of the sky, if I implemented that and was quiet about it and spread that technology throughout my community to mainly the men, do you see how the government could be overflipped? Like easily, they would have to use nuclear bombs to stop us. That technology is what enslaved us, and whoever possesses the best technology wields the power. Do you think that if America went in Afghanistan with just AR-15s, they'd have won? Man, we'd have took a hit that we wasn't ready for because we don't live like them.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, I see your reasoning on that. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Other than that, from any other culture, from the natives that might have been here, from the so-called Africans that was enslaved in Africa that they supposed to have took. We ain't talking about them. I'm just saying in general. I'm talking about that saying that said whether it was the Spanish, bro, Napoleon, somebody like Napoleon against one of our women that work out and climb trees and pick fruit and rear kids. She'll beat the brakes off of Napoleon without a weapon.
Okay, now here's one for you, brother. Glad you brought that up. Okay, now let's look at Her Majesty Queen Nzinga of Mutamba, which is modern day Angola. And I'm going to say, and you heard me say this here before, Lightning and Joe, is that she was there in the 1500s. And I think Her Majesty was about, oh man, I'm going to say, man, about in her early 20s, right? So here come these Portuguese, unbathed, uncleaned, you know what I mean? And so she says, well, why are you here? Oh, well, we come in peace. We come in peace. We come in peace. Okay, so then they left Mutamba and they went back to Lisbon, right? Then they came back, okay? And keep in mind, they weren't like hopping jet planes back then, so it'd take at least a couple of years, in my opinion. So they told her, well, you're now a colony of Portugal. She says, say, fool, do you care to repeat that? And they did. And she says, okay, well, check this out. Okay. So then the Dutch and the Portuguese, they went up there with lying, deceiving tactics. You know what I'm saying? Because they had wanted that gold and one of those minerals. You see, just like what they're doing right now. Okay. So she had fought all her adult life until her death, and I believe she had transitioned at the age of about 85. So that's for over 50 years she did this. You see what I mean? For over 50 years she did this, but they don't want to mention that. And then, as you said, if we was already here, Joe, and then the white man, he had came with all his methods of destruction, mass destruction. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I can see that there as being an intimidating factor. Because when you go to the city of Los Angeles, okay, when the LAPD pulls you over, man, they have no problem of kicking you off this planet. None whatsoever. So if you get a brother there from North,
I can give a recent example of something that happened in Vegas of technology versus civilians pretty much with pocket knives. Okay. Remember that white man that was in that casino that hit them 51 people in Vegas that couldn't do nothing?
Okay.
Yeah, that's technology over just people. So, understand your muscles with an old school bow and arrow could not shoot a bow as far as gunpowder can launch a projectile. It's a tactical advantage. Standoff distances.
Okay. Now, the thing is, now I'm going back to the Zulu Wars in Azania. Okay. All right, it wasn't King Shaka. It was his so therefore your brother's son would be your nephew, right? Then a generation after him would be your grandnephew, then your great nephew, right? Am I right on that?
I'm not sure. I ain't kind of been in a family structure in a long time.
Okay. But regardless, what had happened is that the Dutch, the Boers, they took Cape Town, but they had a huge mountain range northeast of Cape Town that separated them from Natal. So what had happened is in the 1820s, they went and met with Shaka. Then what had happened was, the white fellow was talking to Shaka. And the white fella is saying is that, well, we're here to see your needs. And Shaka says to see our needs. So he says, are you going to have English, Zulu, or are you just going to have English, and no Zulu? Okay. So what had happened was Shaka, he died. He was assassinated. Setwile, and this is in the 1870s. Okay, they made a motion picture about it called Zulu Dawn, but I don't trust anything out of Hollywood anyway. Okay, so what had happened is that the Zulus had put up such a fierce fight. You say they almost wiped them out. But what did the white man have? He had the power of the gun. You say to prove your point right there. So Setwile had met with Queen Victoria, I think, of England. And she said that now we cannot give you back your nation, you say, because it is ours right now, you say. So Setwile, he had to resign himself to that fact, you say. But what it is, though, this European is so hell-bent on destruction and dominance and want to inflict his culture on other people's culture. You see what I'm saying? Just like what happened to the indigenous people of the United States. And I stated this here before. I've crossed the Little Bighorn in Montana. I spoke with some natives. They didn't say, hey, brother, welcome. They say, man, why did your people help the white man against our people after the Civil War? Say, and I was not exactly prepared for the question, but I did explain to them is that the slave only knew what the master taught him. You see what I mean? Okay, just like the Civil War. All right. When you had the slaves who was drafted by the Confederacy, that there's a slave owners telling them what to do. All right. So then Lincoln, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, I think is in the early parts of the Civil War, he had stated, the only reason that I'm doing that because I wanted to weaken the South's free labor. You see what I mean? But he said, but if he could have kept the country together without a civil war and kept slavery to keep it together, he would have done it. Say, so let's get some feedback on that part.
once again, I brought this movie up a few months back when I was on the radio show. The movie is called The Last Samurai. Okay, if you watch this movie, the movie of The Last Samurai takes place during the time we were in slavery. America was somewhere everywhere with gunpowder, Gatling guns, and cannons. Now the Japanese had an understanding of gunpowder. That's why it wasn't a shock and awe campaign to him, to the Japanese man. The African man and the enslaved man and the indigenous man that was in America, gunpowder was new to them and they had no understanding of it. So when you bought thunder at command and it brought death, I'm telling you, it's a psychological thing. The same way you don't want to live in the hood because you don't want to hear gunshots.
Right. And with me living in the hood, I've dug many of gunshots, man. Fools were shooting out there on the side of the house, man. I had to grab my mama and throw her on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Because she was sitting in the chair, asleep by the window. You know what I mean?
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, oh yes, sir, most definitely. And the man is going to give his life for his mother. And then, hey, we got V40 in the building. Hey, V40, man, join the conversation, brother. It's always kind. It's always a pleasure having you.
Black power, bro.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Brothers, love, brother. Big Force, Black Power. You already know.
Absolutely. So, you know, you've been with us here for a minute. And, you know, just give us some feedback, man, you know, if you can, you know, because in about 15 minutes, we're going to start with the closing comments, you say. So we got Brother Joe with us here that's dropped a lot of knowledge and what have you. Okay, now, and my classic question is, and did I ever ask you this question, V40, which is that if we was already here, okay, how do we allow our house to get invaded? And Brother Joe was saying is that he was talking about the power of the gun.
For sure. And
the power
also,
of gunpowder.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Gunpowder for sure. But of course, just for them to even get within close proximity, because, you know, we would have seen and heard any type of army or expedition, or if it was, you know, ships perhaps that would have been landing on the coast, we would have more than likely seen them coming. A part of the issue has been our predisposition towards others as opposed to each other. I'm pretty sure by the time we came into contact with the European and any other groups, we had some type of skirmishes amongst each other, you know, tribe to tribe,
Well,
etc. You know, of course. But when these motherfuckers came, like we do today, you feel me? One of them pop up, they sound like us, they talk like us, they sound like they overstand or could somewhat, I ain't gonna say relate, but they can comprehend our circumstances, or they act like they want to speak up on our behalf or something like that. We'd be the first to open our doors to them. And our ancestors would have been very similar because they didn't have any reason to mistrust these strangers. You know what I'm saying? You know, they few. We you know, we're many. You know, they bring in gifts, they bring in smiles and seemingly good energy. At least that's what we took it as, maybe. And we allowed them to get close proximity. And ultimately, we see what the long-term results of that was. So it's a lot of different factors that went into what allowed them to position themselves and what ultimately led to us being in the position and condition that we're in.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Now, turning back the hands of time in my mind. Okay. The Black Panther Party, you know, when they had came up, you know, were point number 7. Okay. And they were patrolling the police, you know, making sure that they were not, you know, violating the rights or killing our people, you see. So what had happened was your 40th president, when he was the governor of California by the name of Ronald Reagan, the Class B actor, they signed the Mulford Act in California, which basically had disarmed them. You see what I mean? Because if you go to California, man, and they catch you with a weapon on you, man, you're doing 5 years off the top. No ifs, no ands, no buts, right? But what they wanted you to do is that you got to separate your ammo from your weapon, and you got to keep it in the trunk of your car. You cannot have it in the immediate vicinity in your car. But at the same token, the California Highway Patrol, the San Francisco Police Department, the Oakland Police Department, they would display their shotguns up on their dashboard. Now, let me show you what Los Angeles did. What Los Angeles did is that they had a shotgun for both of the officers in the car that was across the mid-hump, man, you know, right up there on the seats where they got the stock of the weapon going to the right side. Then they got the stock of the weapon going to the left side for full, quick deployment. And then keep in mind, it was the LAPD that brought you SWAT, Special Weapons Assault Team, and what have you, that all the major police departments had picked up. Now, y'all gonna love this one. Guess who invented it in 1967? It was LAPD's first black captain on the LAPD by the name of Jesse Brewer. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. Okay.
First black captain on the LAPD. So, as Joe was saying, the impact of gunpowder on Africa, transatlantic slave trade, European traders, particularly the British, exchanged gunpowder and firearms with enslaved people in West Africa. This trade fueled the growth of the British gunpowder industry, dramatically increased the availability of firearms in Africa. Okay. So, of course, as you know, they stirred up through lies, deceit, you know, animosity between the various African nations right there. And then, of course, you know, they went there and kidnapped everybody. You see what I mean? And that there was a detail that I read from Mr. Lerone Bennett, who was John H. Johnson's #1 man at Johnson Publications, commonly referred to as the Ebony. All right. So then someone had told me, oh, man, that deal was printed up so long ago, man. What about the updated books? Okay. I say later for the updated books because remember, woke theory? You see what I'm saying? Woke theory down there in Florida. Now, let me ask you a question. If your grandmother, if your great-grandmother left a diary, you know, to be read by her family after her transition, right? And she's speaking of the contemporary times of her time. And then her daughter, your grandmother, did the same thing, you know, and added on to that. You see, then your mother had added on to that story. Don't you think, man, that there would be a better chronology of events as they unfolded as opposed to going to these public indoctrination centers and the white power structure is telling you their version or his story as opposed to our story? Comments, please.
Well, for sure. Well, I always, when it comes down to independent sources of history that unfortunately, because almost all of our historians have had to use some type of European literature or historical reference or writing at some point in time, but Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Black civilization, yeah.
Right. That is one of the historical pieces that we do have at our disposal that is about as independent or as uncompromised as we have, as far as historical references that are pretty comprehensive to a degree. But moving forward, and this is something I always like to highlight, if we really want to have true access to our history and to have the ability to really investigate and be able to pull the information the best we can, it's going to require us having the capacity to provide sisters and brothers who are in that field of study, to be able to explore and to be able to go out and gather that information without them being basically under the wing of the opposition, where they're either receiving some type of grant money or because they're limited in basically access, they're having to rely on them for information. You understand what I'm saying? So almost in a way Chancellor Williams did throughout the years, throughout traveling, going to these
it faded out.
It's fading out on y'all. It's fading out on y'all.
Loud and clear on me.
We can hear you. Might be on his end.
Okay. Well, yeah, he was able to go out into these locations and do the field study, like actually speak to the people currently there, go look at whatever artifacts or whatever evidence from from history.
He's faded out again. Okay, I see his telemetry, but we can't hear him.
No, that's on your end, brother.
He's saying it's your end, brother Shabaka. I'm about to wrap up real fast, though.
Okay,
but I
can't hear anybody. Okay.
Oh man.
Well, we know what this is about. Okay, so V40, I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat that, man, when you come in, man. Is because I'm seeing your telemetry, man, but I can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro. You the only person who couldn't hear me right there. The other brother said that they could hear me.
Yeah,
it might be.
Just put it in the chat form. Put it in the chat form. He's having difficulties with his.
That's a lot to put in chat.
What?
Sending it to him now.
Shabaka, can you hear us?
Yeah, they're doing this to us again. Yeah, they doing this to us again. Yeah, they are definitely doing this to us again. Yeah.
Hear him loud and clear. That's crazy.
Yep, we can hear loud and clear. No problem. So, I know that chat bot, Grog or whatever it's called, it was anti too woke. Yeah, it's about too woke. You can hear now? You back, Shabaka? I guess not. Well, maybe the system, maybe the Wi-Fi. Who knows? But I'll go ahead and play this outro.
The owner's big $1 million making in the white man's world of prestige, who speaks to his people 100% and don't give a damn about the money, being shot, take the title, take it all, and to go to jail tomorrow. I love my people, and I'm not going to sell them out, make no movies, and mislead them and marry blondes, because I'm one Negro who the boss let me come into council, and the rest of them in the fields catching hell. I'm going to the fields and represent them if it means die. So that's why I'll fight.
Any closing comments?
Yeah, we can start the closing comments now.
Okay, good. Well, we got to keep getting in here and getting it done for the people. Bring in pertinent information as we get it.
And then
we give it out.
And then I'm up here going through YouTube.
I'm back.
All right, sister, what do you got to contribute? Because we're winding it down right here. And Lightning, they ain't showing us up here, man, on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? All I'm seeing is a bunch of garbage up here, man.
Wow. They gotta hit the super chat for it to be on, so it don't matter.
Okay, so that's some new twist that they put.
No, a super chat they pay to have their comments shown. That's all.
Anyway,
they pay to have their comments shown.
Shabaka, before you close out, because we were talking about history, and I did see you guys' picture because I did go to the Japanese tea garden today. I also I went to the beach. I went all the way to Ocean Beach, and this is something, when it comes to the beach, the water was very
by
beautiful.
the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Well, no. So the water was beautiful, but I don't know why the sand is so black and dark like that. They need to probably clean the sand off. But you talking about Golden Gate Park? No, I didn't go to Golden Gate Bridge. No, I didn't go that way. I was in Ocean Beach. Okay. So anyway, so one of the things, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because while I was walking around, I saw this windmill out there, and I was doing some research, and I actually found out some information about a Black woman, of course. So, all the time, I'm gonna always find out, when it comes to the great mother of the universe. So there was a sister that actually had placed a stamp here in San Francisco. And hold on one second, I just want to make sure I get everything right, because I know I sent it out. And then I saw some coys, and then Michelle sent the thing about Warren Wheeler.
Okay, you printed it out again.
He was a Black pilot that built his own airline that we don't talk about, but I'm still trying to find out about the sister. Maybe I sent it. Who did I send it to? Hold on. Wait, I know who I sent it to. Because I had Marcus on the phone. Brother Marcus from the UNIA. All right, so her name was Louise Jackson. Ida Louise Jackson. Have any of you guys ever heard of Ida Louise Jackson? Okay. So she was a Black woman, and she was born October 12, 1902. She died March 8th, 1996. And she was an educator and also a philanthropist. She graduated from University of California, Berkeley. Following her family's move to California, one of 17 Black students attended the university at the time. She prioritized creating safe spaces for African-American community members. Okay, so, and that was just some of the stuff. And she also invested, okay, this is what she was doing in her undergraduate in Oakland, California. And so she became the first African-American woman, well, I'm just going to say Black woman, African-American, whatever, to teach high school in the state of California. At the same time, her ambitions was rooted in giving back to her community back in Mississippi. So she was her family was originally from Mississippi, but they migrated here to San Francisco, California, because like I go into the Black Renaissance.
Okay, you fed it out, sister.
Huh? Okay, so like I go.
Fed it out.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, she was teaching high school. That's the last thing that I got.
We can hear you. It's on Shabaka's end. It's not on your end.
Okay. All right. So this is the thing right here. So she became the first Black woman to actually teach school here in California, San Francisco, California. Now, when you look at the dates here, and like I was telling you, she was born in 1902, and she transitioned March 8th of 1996. Very full life. And don't forget about the Black Renaissance, because we already know that the Black Renaissance went past the 1940s. All right. And so at that time when she was here, even when you go on Higher Heights or however in San Francisco, you had all that area was owned by Black people. At that time, homosexuality wasn't even heard of at that time. All right, so her name okay, the education career. There was another thing that I want to highlight that they had her, that they were talking about her out there at the windmill, okay, and it was something how they dedicated to her. Okay, let me see. Ooh. Okay, chapter. There was something else that I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, let's go through her career. After receiving her Bachelor's of Arts degree at the University of California in 1922, Jackson applied to work in Oakland School District. However, the administration at the time deemed her unqualified. As a result, she went back to Cal to pursue her master's. Even after receiving these 2 degrees, Jackson recalled that general consensus of administration or experience enough to teach the school district. There were very few Black students, and they were promoted promoted into Oakland high schools. So this meant most high schools in the district were predominantly white. Jackson appeals the work of these schools, regardless, were met in response of more teaching experience being required. In 1923, Jackson moved to the Imperial Valley and accepted a teaching position at East Side High School in El Centro. This school served
That's Southern California.
All right. This school served predominantly Mexican and African American students. She remained at this school for 2 years as a home economics and English teacher, and accepting this job at this school, Jackson became the first Black woman to teach high school in California. Jackson spent 2 years teaching at high school and was set on returning to Oakland to apply yet again. However, this time was different. On the top, having 2 degrees from the University of California, Berkeley, she now had 2 years of teaching experience under her belt. She had met each question of her qualification with determination to prove herself. When she was told that she was unqualified again, after having a teaching credentials and bachelor's and earned a master's degree, when the administration required that she have more teaching experience, she applied to teach in neighboring schools the district of the couple of years. During this time, Ida Louise Jackson was also building a network of support. She was very involved in her local chapter of, guess what chapter, y'all? She was also a member of the NAACP. You know, everybody has problems with that, but at one time, the NAACP did not have the reputation that has accumulated throughout the years. There's a yin and yang in everything that we do, brothers and sisters. Before submitting her intent for teaching position in Oakland Public School District for the 3rd time, she spoke with her NAACP chapter members about the difficulties she had encountered during her first application. In doing so, she was connected with Walter Butler, who was the head of the Northern California branch of the NAACP. He was particularly helpful with Jackson's situation that he had previously worked with influential members of the Board of Education. Other members of the NAACP also went on to endorse Jackson's teaching abilities and qualifications. Following the intervention by community members, Jackson officially submitted her 3rd application for teaching in Oakland in 1926. She received an offer for a long-time substitute teacher position at Prescott School. Once she accepted this offer, she officially became the first African-American teacher in all of Oakland's public schools. After teaching at this school for 1 year, Jackson then went to teach history at McCombs High School. She spent the majority of her teaching career on the West Oakland High School. In 1934, she was featured in the local newspaper for her contribution to the launching of Negro History Week in California, specifically within her school district. Throughout her teaching career, Jackson was invested in giving back to the communities that supported her in college. In 1934, Jackson became the National Alpha Kappa Alpha president, a woman, Alpha Kappa Alpha president. Although her term ended in 1937, she was able to accomplish many things. Within this role, she organized chapters at schools all along the East Coast. Under her leadership, chapters were founded in colleges in Los Angeles, Arizona, and Seattle. Her goals did not end there. She never forgot about her home state of Mississippi and the poor rural Black folks that needed support. Before venturing out to Mississippi, she had established a low-cost dental clinic in Oakland. As a part of her term, she led... Let me finish, brother. I think I went past that already. All right, she led an initiative and that provided summer schooling to rural teachers in 1934. The first established school was in Lexington, Mississippi, and then teachers of the AKA, AKA organization volunteered to help train local teachers to provide quality comprehensive education in low-income students. Jackson hoped that preparing teachers and students, more Black people will be interested in higher education. In addition to this, with the help of Dr. Dorothy Bowling Freebie and AKA volunteers, Jackson co-founded and made general director of the Mississippi Health Project. This was a system of clinics that aimed to address the health needs of rural Mississippi. As this project expanded, both adults and children were provided with health care. At first, this project had goals of establishing physical location, but Jackson and her team quickly realized that the community members had difficulty traveling to centers. In order to adapt to the needs of those they wished to serve, Jackson helped to evolve these centers into mobile clinics. Now, mobile clinics. See, everything that these troglodytes out here say that they do for your community, it was already here. Nothing is new under the sun. She was doing this shit back in 1934. Now, helped to evolve these centers into mobile clinics that will move throughout the area. As a result, Jackson and her team were able to provide greater access to their services. By the end of these projects, 8 years of operation, over 15,000 children were immunized against diphtheria and smallpox, because you already know they was putting that in our communities to kill us. All right?
And then keep in mind is that
finally efforts by Jackson and Dr. Freebie, the AKA volunteers, were receiving national attention so much that they were invited to the White House twice. They was given the opportunity to speak with then President Roosevelt and the First Lady about the specific challenges they had encountered while providing health care in the segregated South. In 1936, during her second visit to the White House, Jackson spoke on various issues with Eleanor Roosevelt, covering topics such as health, federal jobs, and railroad discrimination. Following her time as national AKA president, she took a brief term as the dean of women at the Tuskegee Institute from 1937 to 1938. Her main role within this position was to support the college with its recent change from all men's school to including women. Following throughout her time with all these projects and position changes, she was actively involved in the NAACP, the YWCA, and the National Council of Negro Women. She later returned to McOpus High School, where she taught until her retirement in 1950.
Okay, well, is that McClymonds?
Jackson then transitioned to running her family sheep ranch in Mendocino County. All right, what are you talking about now, Shabaka?
Oh, okay. When you say the high school that she went to in Oakland, is that by any chance called McClymonds, McClymonds?
Didn't I say that?
No, you called it something else, but I think it's McClymonds High School in East Oakland.
Well, let's spell it. How do you spell it? Everybody get a pencil and write it down, because I'm sure there's going to be a debate here, because it is a black woman. So let's make sure we get the spelling correct and the pronunciation correct, because us as black women, we don't know how to pronounce words, right? You know what I mean? No, we need a black man. Hold on. Let's get it right now, because we need a black man to show us how to pronounce a word. I have to give it up for my black man, because if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't even know how to spell go, stop, no, up, down. But anyway, seriously, let's go back.
Boy, it's never a dull moment here, boy. I tell you that much. Yeah.
Up, down, over. Like I'm a pet. Roll over. Let's see what you can do on your back. Oh my God! Look at you. You're so flexible.
Okay. All right.
Like the way that some of the brothers get into it. Look at that shame, insult, guilt, and the need to be right. Whatever, black child. Don't be hating. Don't be hating.
Did you get the white encyclopedia?
No doubt. Well, I do.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that she oversaw the syphilis experiments?
Well, what year? Let's go into that. What year?
1932 through 1972.
No,
she was there when the syphilis experiments happened.
Wait a minute. She wasn't there because remember she came back to California And
you said she worked there between 38 and what, 39, right? The experiments took place between 32 and 72.
30, no, she was there from 1937 to 1938.
The syphilis experiments took place from 32 to 72. So she was there.
Yeah.
No, because she didn't get there till 1937. What do you can't do math?
The syphilis experiments took place from 1932 to 1972. From 1932 until 1972, she was there.
Well, yeah, but she was there for a year. Maybe that's the reason why she left.
Where she started the experiment, or she orchestrated it, or it happened.
No. I doubt that very seriously. No. Get off of here. No. We're not even gonna go there and say that.
Man, look, hold, look. I know this brother Shabaka John, bro. You know what I'm saying? we got bigger
Sister
fish
Denise,
to fry,
I'm sorry. Hey, Sister Denise, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry, Sister Denise. I'm sorry.
Go ahead for it.
Yeah. We got bigger fish to fry, though. You know what I'm saying? You know, we got to take all of this knowledge and this sense of awareness to be able to point out things like that and put that shit to use in terms of changing our economic and our political circumstances as a people. You feel
Yeah,
me?
you
You know what I'm
right about
saying?
that.
Saying Kofa, you feel me? Saying Kofa, dialectical materialism. You know what I'm saying?
But can't you also see this as a right to self-determination? Well, I appreciate her enthusiasm. We already know how we feel about the NAACP. But the thing about it, because even the judge that I was telling you guys about in New York, how they kind of like shysted her a little bit dealing with the NAACP. But I do like her, initiative, motivation. And I like the fact that they actually dedicated, here in California tour. And I think that what I'm looking at is that we have the ability to create our own educational institute. I think that is something that should also be on the list for us to do as a people. One of the things that we should do, like right now, make it a priority. If we can get us a school, you know what I mean? We need our own education place. We need a school that our children can come to the school, and we need to teach them. Because it begins there. The education begins. It begins. As children growing up, they already have to be a product of the public school system. Let's take the children out of the public school system and focus on creating our own educational institutes all the way from elementary.
I've been saying that for the last damn 10 years. You're right.
I mean, it's not that difficult though, Sister Conrad. We done went through like the brother was saying. Many of these conversations is like, you feel me? It's like deja vu. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
like
so let's do it. How do we do it? Let's do it.
I bong. So in the case of education, right? Now we know throughout the movement we got sisters and brothers that already got programs, they got either experience working in the system or through some other form of education, or they have either formal or informal education or information knowledge based in education that we can put together and have them to start developing curriculums, start putting together different packages as far as what's going to be the best setup as far as instituting this into a city that has X and X amount of people in comparison to a town that may only have X and X amount of people. Just start and develop that entire infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? The institution. All of that is just the basis of a personnel program, or excuse me, personnel policy and a procedure. That's all really an institution is. That is in this group of people is working on a particular aspect of society. So in this case, it's education. We could do the same thing with economics. We could do the same thing with medicine. We could do the same thing with agriculture. We could do It's
You're
just
right.
as simple as us just simply making contact, like not
Now
bullshitting,
this
capping,
is
letting us.
resurrection of the mental dead. Speak, brother.
No doubt, brother, no doubt. This ain't nothing but a matter of us dead ass having this conversation tonight, reaching out, making contact with the people that we do have within our own collective network or reach of that network. You feel me? We could also, like I just came up with a list earlier today of the 5 most melanite or Black American or Negro or New African or Afro descendant or whatever identity you fall. You know what I'm saying? Uh I just did a list earlier on the top 5 foremost sisters and brothers in agriculture. And I got the list. Now, I mean, it's just something I was just gathering for something earlier. But nonetheless, it's just that simple. Like outside of our network, it don't have to be the 5 or 10 most people or anything, but all we need to do is just acquire the information, potentially the personnel, the sisters and brothers who are in the movement, who say they're genuine, already have programs or initiatives instituted. We just put them together, let them start cooking. We basically got a framework for what we know a curriculum, what a curriculum would be or would consist of. Outside of that, we allow them to be able to build everything additional. We do the same thing with every other part of the infrastructure. We already got sisters and brothers who do these things already. We got brothers who focus specifically on economic literacy or financial literacy. Okay, bam, we get them together. We get them together with the sisters and brothers who got formal or informal education in these things or experience somehow. Hell, one of them might just be a goddamn bank manager, but they ain't got no formal education in it. If that sister or brother is willing to lend their education or their knowledge base and their expertise, or even they body, they boots on the ground to it, the better. But this is a way for us to be able to walk and chew at the same time, and then allow each sister and brother who have a solution or a aspect of the collective solution to be able to shine in their particular arena and get the most out of what we extracted from them.
I just want to make a comment right now. I know that we have these programs and everything set up that are Black owned, but this is the thing right here. Can we make those programs actually affordable for other brothers and sisters? Because we have a variety of wealth or economic situation. Everybody's finances is not the same, right? And the point is that it should be affordable across the board, whether this brother or sister got more money than this brother or sister, but it should be affordable, right? And if you're gonna give the information or whatever, or you do like the ancestors say, and you actually supposed to be giving your brothers and sisters this information for free to help.
I mean, but Sister Conrad, this is me, so you know what I'm on. You feel me? You personally talk to me every day. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm on. This is for the nation. You know what I'm saying? Nationhood, nation stateism. You know what I'm saying? Sovereignty, autonomy, self-reliance, self-sufficiency, self-defense, self-determination. You know what I'm saying? Unilaterally declaring independence. So all of this is designed to give us the infrastructure designed to be able to hold up a nation. It ain't rocket science. We don't got to reinvent the wheel. It's as simple as I'm saying it is. In fact, I'm making it more complex by trying to explain it all in one conversation. But it's really pretty simple. Simple don't mean easy, but it is simple in terms of methodology. Like dead ass. Like right now, we come up with a list of all the different infrastructures or different aspects of society, right? All right. Now, what are the different departments or components or programs that would address these things? Hell, we can use the United States in any other nation currently in their structure of government as an example, in the different programs and different letters, organizations and whatever else they got inside of those things as a reference to be able to draft what it would be or potentially require for ours.
Yeah.
Now the core basics of it is simple though. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, being able to feed
That's right.
ourselves,
I agree with
clothes,
you exactly. That's right.
you
Give
feel
us
me?
the cause.
Clothe ourselves, feed ourselves, defend ourselves. You know, just starting with the core necessities. And like I said, many of us already got extensive knowledge and information to be able to contribute that we already got in our own personal circles. We go ahead and extract what we can from them. All the sisters and brothers that's supposed to be real revolutionary. Come on now. This is nationhood. A revolution
Right.
is either to overthrow the government or establish a new one. It ain't no in between. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're talking about something that is revolutionary to radically change something, then that's cool. But this is an opportunity for take it to the furthest extent we can go. This is like liberation. But it's as simple as this. Like I'm dead ass. We got sisters and brothers in every field of study. We got sisters and brothers in every field of expertise or industry. We come up with a list tonight. We start pulling from our own personal contacts until we got a group of people to sit in a room and start cooking with, start putting together the structures, the skeleton of the body, and then we start filling that motherfucker out with the muscles.
Yeah,
You feel
yeah,
me?
it's gonna take time, you know. Yeah, it's gonna take time. And what I mean by time, it could be done, in my opinion, man, in less 4 years. But you got to have a meticulous plan and connect the dots. You see, and
For
this
sure,
is
for
why,
sure.
and this is why social media, mainstream media, cable television goes through such great uh, uh, efforts to shatter our unity. Now, let's look at Atlanta Housewives. Okay. Tyler Perry production, right? Okay. BET television, as you know. BET
Well, Atlanta
television.
housewife. What about, don't forget, Atlanta ain't the only housewife, but I tell you one thing, Atlanta housewife, they make more money than any housewife show. We ain't gonna go in there talking about no sisters. Let's talk about them crackers, housewives, and how they turn around and do all that derelict stuff on them videos, and people is watching it, and now they do all that, rubbing on each other, homosexual activity.
Well,
Don't get on there
if we
talking
want
about no
to free
Atlanta
ourselves,
housewives, Shabaka.
I was about to say, if we want to free ourselves of the conditions where misinformation, disinformation, just pure poison of the mind. If we want to be able to
And then
control
that's
an
the thing that bothers
environment
me. If
or
y'all dislike
have
black
greater
women so
control,
much, why don't you just stay away from it and go get you a motherfucking tractor day? Because you don't ever talk about what them crackers do to you, but you always got something to say about a black woman.
Hold on, time out. Ain't nobody said nothing about the sisters right there, Sister Conrad. Come on, they're together. Wasn't nobody attacking the sisters right there. Come on now. Anyway, can we stay on? This is why we can't goddamn build. Because whenever we get to the house and we get to talking about doing some work, we get distracted about everything else. We get to talking about the goddamn Atlanta housewives, and then we talking about comments that wasn't even made. Like, come on now. Like that as we was just talking about realistically how we could liberate our people. Potentially, steps to do this. Now, this ain't the whole funnel of things. This is just us having a general conversation right now. So obviously there's more and there's other, let's just say other routes, territorial acquisition or territorial occupation. You know what I'm saying? Methodically, swift, decisive, strategic locations that have, let's just say, the most viable benefits and maybe a structure already in place to be able to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-defending. You feel me? So, we got things at our disposal. Like we could be actually pulling those things together. Like I was saying to you, brother Shabaka, the other night.
Yeah.
ain't none of us, you feel me? We was all in the group. Matter of fact, Sister Conrad was here too. I forgot, yeah. But we was all in there and we was talking about how in 5 years or 10 years, it's a chance that some of the sisters and brothers that was on the call last night might not be here. So
Yeah.
whatever knowledge, whatever skills, whatever talents, whatever contributions those sisters and brothers could possibly make to us really freeing ourselves. We talking about real liberation, bro. Everything our ancestors, especially the ones who had the political mind to be able to see from a different perspective or vantage point, perhaps, to be able to do and pull off all the things that they potentially would have wanted us to do if they had the knowledge and the access that we have today, and all the things that will put our kids in a position where they won't have to worry about them at all. The most they would have to worry about at that point would be protecting the kingdom that we have left to them.
Yeah. But you see,
Not
but
having to
once
worry
again,
about a boot in their ass, or worrying about a educational system, or having to worry about mass incarceration, or being falsely imprisoned, or being overcharged for a charge where if they were white, they would have got a different conviction, or any of the various pitfalls that they got us stuck. As long as we stay stuck in a shit, we got a chance to circumnavigate all of that. You know, I'm not talking about no crazy shit. Like I'm dead at. I can't say too much up here per se, but you know what I'm saying? And it's not just me. I talk to sisters and brothers all the time. Some of the smartest, most intelligible people you will ever have a conversation with have sat and dedicated years and years, like Sister Conrad, like Brother Shabaka, like Brother Lightning, dedicated their years to learning, experiencing. Like, why? We really ain't got too much time to lose, you feel me? To be like bullshitting around having trivial conversations about things that we know are ineffective,
okay.
regressive. You feel
And
me?
I'm about to cut out y'all because we going in law overtime.
Okay.
Oh
All
yeah,
right. So listen.
my fault. Go ahead, do
Okay.
your thing, do your thing. Big
Yeah,
fours,
yeah,
heavy.
okay. So we're gonna go with the closing comments. I'm gonna end the stream. Okay, we thank everybody, for coming on. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate Dynamite, being our art director and what have you. And so I'm gonna bid everybody a good night. Appreciate Sister Arquette coming on there. Of course, appreciate Brother Joe coming on there. And
I appreciate you guys too. Thank you so much for inviting me, Shabaka.
all right, sister.
Salute,
Okay.
brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Big
Salute.
fours, brothers and sisters, black
Salute.
power. You already know.
Black power.
Love.
Race first.
Absolutely. And share this video if they allow it. If you're on Facebook, share it. Same thing on YouTube as well, too. All right, Lightning, I'm going to give you a call. Yeah, and I'm going to give Lightning a call, afterwards so we can see where we at to make sure we followed all the community standards and stuff.
Tomorrow, bro. I'm about tired. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow, brother. Yeah, because I keep forgetting he's on the East Coast and I'm out here in the wild west.
Ladies and gentlemen, situational awareness. All right, y'all. Don't take this for granted. Everybody is against us. Black man and black woman, we are all we got.
Facts.
Facts. That's right.
That's
all we got. Well, actually, the word is have, but anyway, who's correcting English at this time? It's not even our original language anyway.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna bid everybody a good night from Sin City. All right. Have a nice night and thank everybody for participating.
Black power.
Always. I'm playing Fannie Lou Hammer on the way out.
Mr. Chairman, and to the Credentials Committee, my name is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, and I live at 626 East Lafayette Street, Roosevelt, Mississippi. Sunflower County, the home of Senator James O. Eastman and Senator Stennis. It was the 31st of August in 1962 that 18 of us traveled 26 miles to the county courthouse in Indianola to try to register to become first-class citizens. We was met in Indianola by policemen, highway patrolmen, and they only allowed 2 of us in to take the literacy test at the time. After we had taken this test and started back to Roosevelt, we was held up by the city police and the state highway patrolmen and carried back to Indianola, where the bus driver was charged that day with driving a bus the wrong color. After we paid the fine among us, we continued on to Roosevelt, and Reverend Jess Sonny carried me 4 miles in the rural area where I had worked as a timekeeper and sharecropper for 18 years. I was met there by my children that told me the plantation owner was angry because I had gone down, tried to register. After they told me, my husband came and said the plantation owner was raising Cain because I had tried to register. And before he quit talking, the plantation owner came and said, Fannie Lou, do you know, did Pap tell you what I said? And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I mean that, said if you don't go down and withdraw your registration, you will have to leave. Said then if you go down and withdraw, that you still might have to go because we're not ready for that in Mississippi. And I addressed him and told him that I didn't try to register for you. I tried to register for myself. I had to leave that same night on the 10th of September, 1962.